Is it ready, Toby?
Wait a minute. Not yet. Wait. Nearly. It's just going. And now, quick.
Good. Here it comes.
Come on, run.
Oh, what a glorious egg.
You're going to need a bigger egg cup than that.
Nonsense. Anyway, it's the only egg cup I've got.
I'm telling you, it won't fit. There you see. I told you it wouldn't fit. Hot, is it?
Of course it is.
Oh, dear.
Oh, where am I going to put it? I've got to eat it out of some...
Look around.
Here we are. Oh, no. Too big.
Oh, no. There's something else then.
Huh?
What? No. It's far too small.
You're right. I know. No, much too big. Oh, whatever am I going to do?
Why not make the egg smaller?
Huh? What good would that do, Cauldron?
If you make the egg smaller, it will fit in the egg cup.
Brilliant!
What a good idea.
What would we do without talking cauldrons?
Have you got a spell that'll do it?
Of course I've got a spell in the old spell book.
Bet it doesn't work.
Oh, yes, it will. Here it is. It's a jolly good spell. It worked on Mrs. Pitter-Patter. I know. You pop over to the puddle and we'll see what happened.
Are you coming then?
Don't be so impatient. I'm only marking the place. Spell dragons. Right, now settle down.
Okay.
Mrs. Pitter-Patter lives in Puddle Lane. She's always telling people what to do. One day, Mrs. Pitter-Patter left her house and went up the lane, pitter-patter, pitter-patter, towards the magician's house. Mrs. Pitter-Patter saw Mr. Puffle. Mr. Puffle was painting his door green. "Whatever are you doing, Mr. Puffle?" she said. "You shouldn't paint it green, you should paint it white." "I like it green," said Mr. Puffle, and opened another tin of paint. Mrs. Pitter-Patter went on up the lane. She saw Hari and Geeta. Hari and Geeta live in Puddle Lane, and they were playing ball. "You mustn't play ball," cried Mrs. Pitter-Patter. "You should get a skipping rope instead, and you mustn't play in the lane, you should play in the garden of the old house." Mrs. Pitter-Patter hadn't gone far when she saw Sarah and Davy. "Whatever are you doing?" she said. "Why don't you go home and help your mother?" "She said we could play here," replied Davy. "Well, you shouldn't be skipping, you should play ball. And you shouldn't play in the lane, you should play in the garden of the old house." Mrs. Pitter-Patter went on up the lane. She saw Mr. Go-to-Bed sitting in the sunshine having a sleep. "Wake up," she said. "Whatever are you doing sleeping out here? If you're tired, you should go to bed." But Mr. Go-to-Bed went on dozing as he sat in his chair in the sunshine. Mrs. Pitter-Patter went on down the lane. And there was the magician's house with the gate leading into his garden. The magician was sitting under the tree having a sleep. Mrs. Pitter-Patter opened the gate and went in. "You shouldn't be fast asleep at this time of day," she said. "Wake up and do something." The magician woke up with a start. "What do you want me to do?" he asked. "Anything, so long as it's useful." "Useful?" Very well, said the magician. I'll do something very useful. And he snapped his fingers. The next moment, Mrs. Pitter-Patter found herself getting smaller. Oh dear! Oh dear! You're turning into a giant! I'm not growing bigger, said the magician. But you're getting smaller. Mrs. Pitter-Patter was now so small that he could pick her up in his hand to talk to her. Oh, put me down! Put me down! She cried. I'll put you down if you will go away and not bother me. Oh, yes, she said. I'll go away and I'll never come back. So the magician put her down on the grass. Oh, dear! Oh, dear! She scrambled through the gate and into Puddle Lane. But the moment she was safely back in Puddle Lane, Mrs. Pitter-Patter was herself again. She was just as tall as she wanted to be. She ran down the lane as fast as she could. Sarah, Davy, Hari and Geeta were still playing in the lane. Play in the lane if you like, but never, never go into the garden. And she ran home to make herself a cup of tea.
I bet she didn't bother you after that, did she?
She certainly didn't. Now, let's go and see if all the words have turned up in the book.
Oh, yes, let's go.
Pencils and paper, pens and ink, the words shall appear before you can blink. Now, what should the first picture be?
Mrs. Pitter-Patter.
Yes, and here it is. Mrs. Pitter-Patter. Now, who did she bother?
Oh.
Let's think. There was Sarah, Davy.
Yes, Hari,
Geeta, Miss Baker, and me. But I'm sure there was someone else.
Yes.
Mr. Puffle. And there's the picture.
Oh.
But no words. Oh dear. Never mind. I'll write them in. Mr. Puffle. Good. Now, can you remember what colour he was painting his door?
Oh, I can't remember.
You can't remember?
No. Can you?
No. Where is it? Ah, there it is. Green.
It's a good job you can read.
Now, here's a picture of me shrinking Mrs. Pitter-Patter.
Yes. Yeah, what do you mean shrinking?
Making her smaller. Anyway, what do you think the title of this story is called?
Well, it was about Mrs. Pitter-Patter and you, so it should be called Mrs. Pitter-Patter and the Magician.
Mrs. Pitter-Patter and the Magician. Excellent.
Haven't you forgotten something?
Forgotten something?
The spell!
The spell! Of course! Of course. I got so carried away with the story, I completely forgot about the spell. A spell to make my egg smaller.
Yes. Right, what do we need then?
First, we need a colour. Now, we're shrinking an egg, and when you take the top of an egg, what colours do you see?
White and yellow.
Then choose one of those.
Well, the favourite part for me is the yolk, and that's yellow.
Yellow.
Yeah.
How about this then?
A yellow yo-yo. A yellow yo-yo.
Here you are, Cauldron.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Now, we're making a spell to make something smaller, so we need something that begins with the same sound as small.
Sausage?
No, not food, Cauldron.
I know. Sock.
Ah.
You know, Toby, this is such a splendid sock. I think it deserves a song, all of its own. Let me see, Yes, that should do, don't you think so? Good. What a sock, what a sock, what a smart and stylish sock. What a sock, what a sock, what a colourful, splendid sock. What a sock, what a sock. Surely you'll agree, it's the loveliest, sweetest, smartest, neatest sock you'll ever see. Did you like that?
I think it's a silly sock.
No, it isn't. I'll do some more. What a sock.
What a sock.
What a sock.
What a sock.
What a simply super sock.
I think it's dreadful.
Don't mock.
I will.
My sock.
I want to.
It might answer back, and that would be a shock.
Oh.
What a sock. What a sock. Surely you'll agree, it's the loveliest, sweetest, smartest, neatest sock you'll ever see. What a sock. There you are, Cauldron. A sock.
A sock.
Well, never mind. What about the magic tune?
It's hard to think with a sock inside me.
Cauldron?
Oh, all right. It goes paw, 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 paw.
Have you got that, Toby?
I think so.
Good.
Pom, 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 pom.
Boom, 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 boom. Right. All together then.
Paw, 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 paw.
Good. Now, the magic clap. Now, everything's ready except for the magic rhyme. Puddle, muddle, muddle, puddle, big and little, short and tall, muddle, puddle, puddle, muddle, a click of the fingers to make my egg small.
It worked. It worked.
Of course it worked. A perfect fit. Now, breakfast. Oh, no. You know what's happened, don't you?
What?
It's gone cold. I don't see anything to laugh about.
Never mind, perhaps you could use it as a salad.